You always know when you're doing something exciting. Actually, there's Lani, our beautiful court dog, coming in just on time. I won't make a fool of myself and start playing with her on the ground before I start. Can I welcome everyone here for such a special occasion? And you know when you're doing something exciting when there's so much noise in the room. This is a lovely event for us, a lovely event for the courts, and a lovely event, I think, for the profession. This launch today. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands and waters where we meet today, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects and that of the courts to elders past, present and emerging. I extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. I'd also like to acknowledge the distinguished presence of so many judges, registrars and staff of the Federal Circuit and Family Court of Australia Divisions 1 and 2, and members of the Court's Children's Committee. The President of the New South Wales Children's Court, Her Honour, Judge Skinner, it's great to see you here today, and also our guest speakers, Ms Anne Hollins, who tells me she's soon to depart her role, and Anne, you've done such an amazing job. It's so lovely to have you here, and this is such an important occasion for us, and I know for you. And you're only telling me this morning about your experiences with our court, your long history. And it's great to have someone with such integrity and experience being here today. So thank you very much, Anne. I think as National Children's Commissioner, I really want to thank you also for making yourself available for this event, what is Children's Week. We also have the Deputy Chief of Staff for the Commonwealth Attorney General, Annie Haggar. Thank you very much, Annie, for turning up today. And I know the Attorney General would like to be here at this important occasion, and she's been a great supporter of our courts. The Secretary of the New South Wales Department of Communities and Justice, Mr Michael Tidwell, the representatives of the Bar and representatives of the profession and legal aid, including Jennifer Ball and Brett McGrath. Of course, Brett was a former registrar of our court, a former magnificent president of the Law Society, and of course Jennifer's done such a fantastic job, and I congratulate her on her year. And no doubt on all the work she's done, including the fact that the New South Wales Law Society have provided 3 magnificent dogs for New South Wales in particular. And Lani, of course, is showing that off and doing such a great job. And also many members of the profession and family relationships services sector, child-focused services and researchers and advocates. You're all very welcome. Thank you all for allowing us to join with us and launch 2 very important initiatives of our courts. The Children's Charter and the Kids Corner on our website. The Children's Charter outlines the court's commitment to placing children at the very centre of decision making in a way that promotes their safety, their well-being, and it really does make sure that it informs them in a relevant way. It contains 10 principles intended to guide practice and behaviour by articulating a clear, concise and accessible way our court's commitment to children who are the subject of family law disputes. The Children's Corner, or Kids Corner I should say, is a dedicated area of the court's website, especially for children, featuring 2 short animations or short animation films and an age-appropriate information to research for children. And also make them understand what happens when families go to court. As you'll hear from Janet Carmichael, a considerable amount of work went into developing these resources, including consultation with children. In a jurisdiction that's focused on the best interest of the child, it's critical that we give meaning to that principle. The Charter and the Children's Corner, or CHID's Corner as I should call it, helps to bridge the gap between complex legal processes and children's real experience and signal to children in an appropriate way that we care about their safety and their well-being. Shortly you'll hear from Justice Alice Carter, the chair of the Children's Committee, about the important work that's been done. And I want to particularly congratulate Alice on an amazing job. She is a force to reckon with. She's also a fierce choir master, and we are absolutely delighted at the work that she and the Children's Committee have done to make this or bring this to fruition. Kylie Beckhouse will also introduce the Children's Charter. Judge Kylie Beckhouse Janet Carmichael, Executive Director of Court Children's Services, to introduce and display the children's, sorry if I said it again, the Kids Corner website content, and then our guest speaker, National Children's Commissioner Anne Hollands, will speak. Thank you for your attendance today. I now hand over to Justice Carter.
Before I begin, I too acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation as the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, and I also pay my respects to their elders past and present. As the Chair of the Children's Committee, I'm delighted to be here today to speak about the important work that is being done by our courts to ensure children and young people are placed at the centre of all decision making. We know children in our courts can often feel that they are spoken about rather than spoken to, and our courts are working to change that, and the Charter, about which you will hear more from Judge Beckhouse, reflects the court's commitment to creating an environment where we consciously ensure children are centred, safe, have the opportunity to express their views, are treated with dignity, and better informed about court processes. These matters are the focus of the Children's Committee. Our community has moved a long way from the belief that children should be seen and not heard, and this shift is reflected in the 1990 United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, ratified by our government but not yet enacted into domestic law. And that provides in Article 12 that all children, capable of forming their own views, have the right to express those views in all matters affecting them. Those views are then to be given appropriate weight in light of the child's age and maturity. And for that purpose, the Convention explicitly provides that children are to be afforded the opportunity to be heard in any judicial or administrative proceedings affecting the child. In our jurisdiction, we are significantly assisted by family report writers, both the court child experts engaged by the court and experts engaged by litigants privately, who interview children and speak to them about their experiences and views and then convey that to the court. The Family Law Act now requires independent children's lawyers to meet with children prior to the finalisation of proceedings and provide them with an opportunity to express any views in relation to the proceedings. That meeting is mandatory unless the child is under 5, doesn't want to meet with the independent children's lawyer, or there's some other exceptional circumstance that justifies not meeting the child. But we must do more than just give children the opportunity to express a view should they wish to do so. The 2018 Australian Institute of Family Studies report into children and young people's experiences of family law reported that many children felt disconnected and marginalised from decision making, and that their views had little effect on the outcome. They reported feeling left in the dark about the court processes, timelines, and the role of lawyers and decision makers. They reported not knowing about their rights to be heard. Other research suggests that the more children and young people felt they were listened to, the more likely they were to be satisfied with the outcome of the proceedings. So family reports and mandatory meetings with an independent children's lawyer are important components of ensuring a child's voice is heard. But what more can we do to ensure children are at the centre of our decision making so that they are not left in the dark and disconnected? As set out in the Charter, we are committed to ensuring children and young people are provided with clear, age-appropriate information about the court and court procedures so that they can be properly informed about what they might expect whilst their parents are litigating, and so that they are better informed about their rights and our obligations to them. The Kids Corner web pages provides a raft of information tailored to children and young people to better help them understand what family law proceedings are all about and what their part in those proceedings will be. An enormous amount of work has been done, led by Janet Carmichael and her team, to develop the web pages, which of course can be accessed by children whose parents are engaged in litigation or young people generally who may be curious about the way our courts function. This is an exciting time at the court and for the Children's Committee as we work towards transforming our commitments under the Charter from abstract expressions into meaningful and tangible outcomes for children and young people. And I'm grateful to Judge Beckhouse and Janet Carmichael and her team in particular for their tireless efforts as the court strives to ensure that children are not marginalised, that their rights are honoured, their voices valued, and their well-being and safety prioritised. Thank you.
Thanks, Alice. And I too want to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation as the traditional custodians of the land upon which we meet today. And also acknowledge Lani. A lot of what we're talking about today is courts being safe places that respect the people that come before us, and I can attest to the fact that she's been in my courtroom for about 2 hours this morning doing exactly that. I hope she's taking a break. She might be required this afternoon. Today does mark a really important milestone for the court and its ongoing commitment to children and young people. The launch of the Charter on Children's Rights alongside the new Kids Corner reflects our ongoing commitment to placing children at the heart of our decision making and service delivery. So what is a charter, you might ask? At its core, it is a statement of accountability. But it is a bit more. For the Children's Committee, it's a call to embed a culture within the court that consciously and consistently places children front and centre. When we first began discussing the Charter, our focus was on developing guiding principles that reflected the rights of children to participate in decisions affecting their lives in accordance with Article 12 of UNCROC that's been referred to. Inspiration also came from the work in other jurisdictions, particularly the National Charter of Child Inclusive Family Justice that was adopted by the Family Justice Youth People's Board in the United Kingdom. But as our work progressed, and it particularly was Anne Hollins who came to one of our meetings to draw our attention to the broader responsibilities we hold, not just to listen to children, but to actively safeguard their safety and well-being throughout their engagement in legal proceedings about their lives. In doing so, the Charter draws upon the high-level principles of UNCROC, as well as our own Family Law Act, but also key policy frameworks, including the National Principles for Child-Safe Organisations. We are really deeply grateful to the individuals, many of whom are here today, and organisations who contributed to the consultation process. Their insights and feedback have helped shape a document that we hope will be meaningful, practical and enduring. Now, the Charter is intended to be clear, concise and accessible. It sets out the court's commitment to ensuring that children are heard in ways that promote their safety, dignity and well-being. And importantly, the Charter is not only a public document, it's also a child-friendly one. And I've just put up here what the Charter looks like as well as the child-friendly version. And you'll find a child-friendly version on your seats. The version developed for children is age appropriate, engaging and easy to understand, and it will be displayed in spaces frequented by children, helping them to know and understand their rights and our commitments to them. And as I said, it's a document you'll find on your seats today. As Alice has said, in developing the Charter, we were guided by 10 foundational principles. They appear on the screen behind me and I won't bore you by reading them out, but the principles reflect what it means to place children at the centre of our work, from ensuring their safety and well-being, to respecting their rights to express a view or not to, and making sure they're treated with dignity, given appropriate information and supported by skilled professionals in safe environments. The principles aren't just aspirational, they are practical. They guide how we design our services at the court, how we train staff, how we conduct court hearings, and how we engage with children and families every day. Now, as Alice has mentioned, whilst the Charter articulates the court's commitment, it is supported by a broader framework, and that framework outlines the mechanisms and practices in place across our court. It's intended to be a practical guide, a living document that helps us translate the principles into action, and we'll be able to regularly review our progress. And while the best interests of the child have long been the paramount consideration in family law parenting matters, the principle must extend beyond how cases are decided. Everyone, from judicial officers to court staff, legal professionals, service providers, has a fundamental obligation to place the child at the centre of processes and decisions. So today we take a step forward, not just with a charter and a website, but with a renewed commitment to listening, respecting and protecting children, and making sure that when they are the subject of proceedings in our court, they know they matter.
Bear with us while we do a bit of a technical switch across here. Okay, so to begin with, I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. And I extend that respect to any First Nations people joining us today in person or online across Australia. As has already been mentioned, we are intentionally holding this launch today in National Children's Week. And I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge the deep and enduring care First Nations people have for their children. It's a care rooted in thousands of years of culture, connection and community. Their wisdom, strength and resilience continues to guide and inspire the work that we do with children and for children every day. As National Leader of the Courts Children's Service, or CCS as we call it, I can't understate how excited and proud I am that we are launching these two important initiatives today. My particular privilege, as you've heard, is to speak about the new web pages that we're introducing on the FCFCO website. A great deal of time and effort has gone into the development of this resource, and before I go any further, I would just like to ask Laura Sargent to briefly stand. Laura and Rana Kay, who unfortunately is ill and not able to join us today, are the two CCS staff who've been instrumental in the development of the content and structure of what we've named Kids Corner, a special corner of the website just for kids. Thanks, Laura. I also want to acknowledge, and Rana, I also want to acknowledge the tremendous work of the Courts communications team and would now ask Kate Naylor, Christine Tuff and Henry Pippin to briefly stand, as they have been instrumental in the design and build of the web pages. But this amazing group of staff have not done this alone. Most importantly, Kids Corner has been developed with extensive input from children. Firstly, Kids Corner has been informed by the thousands of children a year that CCS staff have the privilege of meeting with and with whom these children bravely share their fears, experiences and hopes. Through our dedicated workforce, these children have each played a role in the development of Kids Corner. In addition, Kids Corner has been informed by the children who generally participated in our focus groups and gave feedback on many of the design elements, including the colours and the characters. Also importantly, we are grateful to the staff and children in Uniting's Anchor program for children in separated families who gave invaluable feedback on the content. Before I give you a sneak peek at Kids Corner, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about some of the thinking that sits behind it. The average age of children who are subject to family law applications is 7 years old. 90% of those children are primary school age or younger. Because of this, we've made the decision to pitch the content at broadly 2 developmental levels. For children who are pre or unconfident readers, we have developmentally appropriate information delivered through animated videos. Our written content is pitched at approximately a 10-year-old reading level. We are mindful of not overwhelming children with written information, but we're also wanting to be respectful of children's rights to access information. Our consultations to date suggest that we've managed that balance, but we will continue to review this as we receive feedback now Kids Corner is live. We also gave a lot of thought to the use of terminology. Not all families have the same pathway through the court, and it's important that Kids Corner reflects this. For that reason, we've sometimes used generic terms rather than specific ones. As an example, family assessment reports can be prepared by practitioners with a range of titles: family report writer, single expert, family consultant, court child expert. To take an inclusive approach, we elected to use the generic term of family expert in the hope that no matter what type of practitioner a child sees, they will be able to relate to the information provided. While it's super exciting to have Kids Corner go live today, our work is not done. Over the coming weeks and months, we will be adding more pages and information, including a page in which kids can tell us what they think about Kids Corner, and we'll be adding more links to the resources page. We will be actively seeking feedback from the kids that we continue to see. We have these Kids Corner dedicated iPads that will be in every registry and that kids will be able to access when they come in to see us. And we will be asking those kids how we can improve Kids Corner. And while we will be continually promoting Kids Corner in our communications with families, I would ask those of you in the room and online who work with families using the court to assist us by letting families know about this resource for children. We would also welcome feedback about Kids Corner from any of our colleagues in the family law and broader service system. And lastly, I want to express my gratitude and admiration for the CCS workforce. Having a child specialised social science professionals working within the court is envied internationally. And I'm incredibly proud and honoured to be part of this court and lead the extraordinary and dedicated CCS team. Not uncommonly, our work is subject to misinformed commentary based often on an assumption that our job is as simple as listening to kids and writing down what they say. Most of you in the room will be familiar with the risk profile of the families using the FCFCOA. Complexity and high risk are standard features. Very often the children we see have had deeply traumatising experiences. To engage children who are fearful and reticent and to provide information to parents and to the courts in a way that reflects and honours these children's views and experiences without placing them at further risk requires specialised knowledge and skill. Not to mention resilience that's required when you need to continue to champion those children's needs in the context of cross-examination. Very often children arrive at CCS anxious and uncertain about what will happen, but they leave chatty and smiling and often saying, "Can I please come again?" One objective of Kids Corner is to provide information to kids before they participate in an assessment. More broadly, our hope is that Kids Corner will go some way to making the experience of being at the centre of a family law dispute less scary and less confusing for children. So, without any further ado, we will have a look and watch the animations. So, what we've just got is a little video showing you around the website. Are we going? Again. Okay, this is our homepage. And up the top you see the different pages that sit under this homepage of Kids Corner. Here we have our two animations, so they're easy to find for our younger children. We have some information on when families change and a whole raft of different pages that children can access in a way that suits their needs. At the bottom of every page we have links to Headspace and Kids Helpline. So we'll just go into a couple of the pages. So we've got information about families changing. We're trying to normalise the experience for kids. One of the things we know is that kids want to know that they're not alone. We have a series of questions that they might have, and the answers are delivered hopefully in a way that's accessible for them. So they click on the question and they get the answer from an adult. We'll just jump back to the home page. And we have a series of kids who tell their story. So each child has a little story to tell. They're all different. And these are all characters that we're going to use throughout our work in CCS, so kids become familiar with them. Again, we have a page on the different emotions that kids might be experiencing to help them understand that what they're feeling is perfectly normal, just mightn't feel normal for them. So they can click on any of the feelings that they relate to and learn a bit more about them. Bottom of the page, we have some resources, and it links also to our resources page. And second last, we have the Kids Charter. It's available for them to read on the Kids Corner in the child-friendly version. And then we have words you might hear. So I think it's not uncommon, kids hear their parents using words and they don't know what they mean. And they might put meanings to them that are not accurate and not helpful for them. So we'll continue to build on this. And again, we deliver the information in a way that they can choose what they want to see. They don't have to look at everything. We have links in some of these, including to the ICL page on the Legal Aid website. The page for kids, I should say. And here is our resources page, which we'll continue to build on, but there's a few resources in there already for kids to access. So that's a little look around the site, and now we're just going to watch the animations. It was going so well. You know what they say? Worked at rehearsal. Thank goodness for IT people.
Hi, I'm Danny. I'm going to tell you what happens when a family needs help from the court to make decisions about kids. When parents or other adults in a family can't agree, sometimes they need the court's help to make the best decisions for everyone. To do that, the court needs to learn all about the family, especially about what has been happening for the kids. Sometimes the court asks a family expert or a special children's lawyer to speak to kids. If you meet a family expert or a children's lawyer, you can ask them any questions you have. They are there to listen and help you. Family experts and children's lawyers don't make any decisions. Their job is to make sure your parents and the court understand how you have been feeling about the things happening in your family. Many parents are able to agree on a decision with some help from the court. In other families, a special person at the court, called a registrar or judge, might need to help make the decision. Before they can do this, the registrar or judge needs to learn as much as they can about your family. They may need to hear from lots of different people, so it might feel like it's taking a long time, but that's because they want to make the best decision for you. In the end, they might decide that some changes need to happen in your family, or they might decide that things should stay the same. Whatever their decision, it will be because they believe it is the best choice for you and your future.
Hi, I'm Stevie. I'm a family expert. I help families like yours who have come to the court because they need help making decisions about kids. My job can have a few different names, like family consultant or report writer, but today I'm going to call us family experts. I talk to kids, parents, and sometimes other family members. I listen carefully to everyone to understand what's going on. Then I write a report that helps parents and the court understand what kids are thinking, feeling, and experiencing. If you come to see a family expert like me, it might be in an office or a special room for kids. When I meet with kids, I want to get to know them. I often ask questions about their friends, school, feelings, worries, and things they like to do with their family. If you meet with a family expert, you can choose what you talk about. It is important to know that if you see a family expert, some of the things that you talk about will be included in their report. This will be read by your parents and other adults helping to make decisions about you. You might feel a bit nervous about seeing someone like me. Try not to worry too much. Remember that my job is to make sure your parents and the court know what you think and how you feel so that they can make the best decisions for you.
Over to you, Anne. Oh, sorry, Chief.
Jenna, can I thank you very much for all your extraordinary work and the amazing work you've done on this program and your team. Congratulations. I'd now like to introduce Commissioner Annie Hollands. Anne, I should say. I don't know where Annie came from, but it's okay. You're always going to be Annie to me, Anne. Australia's National Children's Commissioner, a role based at the Human Rights Commission. The National Children's Commission monitors policy and legislation to ensure that the human rights of children are protected and promoted, and provides advice to government. Formerly Director of the Australian Institute of Family Studies for 23 years, and was Chief Executive of government and non-government organisations focused on research, policy and practice in child and family wellbeing. As a psychologist, and has worked extensively in frontline practice across children's protection or child protection, family violence and family law counselling, and currently contributes to numerous expert advisory groups and boards. We are very grateful for your attending, Anna. Thanks once again.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Only my best friends usually call me Annie, so I'm honoured. I'd also like to acknowledge the Gadigal people, the traditional owners of this land, and acknowledge all First Nations people who are with us here today. Thank you, Chief Justice, for inviting me. This is such an honour, and what a wonderful celebratory event this is. I'd like to also acknowledge Chief Justice, the Deputy Chief Justice, all the judges of the Federal Circuit and Family Court of Australia, Division 1 and Division 2. It's a very long title there. The President of the Children's Court, who I know well, and all distinguished guests. I know there are many here today. Congratulations to everyone involved in the Children's Charter and Kids Corner, and thank you again, Chief Justice, for inviting me to say a few words. This launch has been an opportunity for me to reflect a little bit on how far we have come in Australia. At the turn of the century, my job was as Chief Executive Officer of Relationships Australia New South Wales. It sounds like an awfully long time ago. It was, by the way, a long time ago, and I acknowledge my successor is here, Elizabeth Shaw. I remember the first decade of the 2000s as characterised by numerous changes to the Family Law Act and the family law system as a whole. And it was also a period of significant innovation in practice. And just a few of the things that came to my mind, and you'll have others, was the introduction of less adversarial trials and of child-inclusive mediation. We saw lawyers and social science practitioners reaching across professional boundary lines with the beginnings of more collaboration. And I might have the year wrong, and I don't know if Judge Altobelli is in the room. He was on the list. No, he's not here. I think it was 2008 when I was invited to present at a workshop of accredited family law specialists on the topic of domestic violence. So 2008. And Judge Altobelli was the facilitator of that workshop here in Sydney. And he said to me that this was the first time that domestic violence was a topic for training for family law specialists. And that has stayed with me all of those years. And look how much has changed. So much has changed. We've got Lani now as well. I mean, and we've seen decades of both small and seismic shifts in policy and practice. I think this current era will be remembered as the time we began to act on our responsibilities under the Convention on the Rights of the Child to make the safety, rights and well-being of children a national priority. And I think the Federal Court and the Federal Circuit and Family Court of Australia will be remembered as providing significant leadership. The Children's Charter and Kids Corner launched today are evidence of this leadership by the courts. I've posed this question many times in different forums. You might have been there when I did so. What if we started with a blank page and designed a family law system that puts the safety, the rights, the well-being of children at the centre? What would it look like? Well, I think you'll agree with me it would look quite different, because we know that the family law system, along with most other policies and service systems, was designed primarily for the needs of adults, not children. The domestic, family and sexual violence system is another example. We know that the DFSV service system is leaving many children to be, quote, unseen and unheard. Unseen and Unheard is the title of an excellent report that's recently come out of RMIT and one of numerous recent research reports demonstrating that children who experience violence at home are being left behind. And you know this, you're dealing with these families every single day. And recently we've seen the child safety crisis in the early childhood education system this year. And as the information was progressively revealed in media exposés since March, it became apparent that the early childhood education system was geared to protecting the adults working in that system, not the children in their care. Not intentionally, of course, but this was the outcome of the system that we currently have in place. And it's really, I commend the fact that government leaders across the Federation have now committed to fast-tracking some of the long overdue reforms recommended in previous inquiries to improve child safety. And I think that that will have a ripple effect across other systems. Article 12 of the Convention on the Rights of the Child is about creating a safe environment for children to be able to ask questions and get the information that they need so that they can have a voice on matters that affect them. That's what Kids Corner provides, the opportunity for children to understand what is happening in the processes where decisions are being made that potentially will affect every aspect of their lives. Kids Corner offers children dignity and respect, which is what the Children's Charter commits to doing. This is the first and essential part of giving children a voice on matters that affect them. But Article 12 is about much more than just the voice of children. Article 12 is considered as the gateway to all the human rights that children have. I was recently speaking on a panel on the topic of centring children in services with a remarkable young person whose name is Connor Powell. You may have heard of him. He's a victim survivor of domestic and family violence in childhood. He's now 22 and he's now in leadership roles advocating for policy change for children. And with his permission, I'm going to quote a couple of the things that he said that day to the service providers in the room. He said, "Looking back, I can see that I did have a voice. The problem was that the adults, the systems and the services around me did not actively seek out my voice or give my voice weight. They did not treat it as a right. They treated it as a risk, a complication, a footnote to adult decisions." On the topic of how to put children at the centre of services, Connor said, "What do I think you need to hear today? I think you need to hear that centering children will cost you. It will cost you convenience. It will cost you old language that once felt comfortable. It will cost you some agreements that are quicker to reach when a child's voice is absent. It will cost you the illusion that if you are kind and thorough with adults, the needs of children will take care of themselves. They won't," he said. And finally, Connor said, "This is the difference between a service that documents pain and a service that interrupts it." Connor's powerful words come from his own childhood experiences of being turned away by service systems that should have helped him. Colleagues, we have opportunities to change our service systems, but prioritising children, their rights, their safety and their well-being comes with a cost. So we have important choices we need to make. As I conclude my 5 years as National Children's Commissioner, I'm optimistic about Australia, a rich, developed and smart country without the challenges and barriers that some other countries face, such as war or government corruption. I'm optimistic that in Australia we will be able to act on the evidence to improve our systems, to make child safety and wellbeing a national priority, and build the accountability mechanisms across the Federation to address the unmet needs of our youngest citizens. Congratulations again on the court's leadership with the Children's Charter and Kids Corner, alongside your many other important initiatives, which I won't list now. this is just the latest and the ones that give me the biggest smile. It is my hope that your leadership on the rights of children will be mirrored in all the other systems where we find children. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Anne. The Kids Corner and Children's Charter is more than just information. It's about creating an environment where children feel confident and cared for, and they understand changes that are happening in their lives. When we treat children with respect and enable them to have an appropriate access to information, we strengthen access to justice and trust in our legal system. This court, or these courts, are not just places of law, they're places of people. And among them are our youngest and most vulnerable. Thank you very much for joining us and congratulations. Where's this dog?
I'd invite you all to stay for lunch and a chocolate crackle.